And we are back.
Hello again. It's us, the horror guys.
Episode 155. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're the horror guys.
155.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And we saw some movies this week, didn't we?
We saw, how many?
We saw 4 movies. We saw The Hunt from 2020. Even newer, we saw Prisoners of the Ghostland from 2021. An oldie, The Terror from 1963. And not quite as old, The Wicker Man from 1973.
Cool.
And there's a remake of The Wicker Man out there that has Nick Cage in it.
Which we did not see
Which we
this
did not
week.
see this week, but Prisoners of the Ghostland has Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
and we
right.
saw a short, too. We're going to talk about that.
We did.
Yeah.
So check out our books, horrorguys.com/books, and pick up the Horror Guys Guide to Shock Theater.
And all the spiffy books that Brian has put together.
Yeah, the Horror Guys Guide to Hammer Horror. All the Hammer Horror films are in that book.
We are our own sponsor.
Horror Guys Guide to the Films of Vincent Price with all the films of Vincent Price in it. Well, at least the
Universal
horror
Studios,
films.
Son of Shock.
Yeah, all the good ones.
Yeah.
And of course, you can get our monthly reviews at horrorbulletin.com. Sign up for the free email newsletter and get those every week. All right, first up, Prisoners of the Ghostland.
My gosh, this was a weird flick.
Oh, yeah, it was. From 2021. Directed by Sion Sono. Written by Aaron Hendry and Riza Saiz Safai. Stars Nicolas Cage, Sophia Boutella, and Nick Cassavetes. An hour and 43 minutes. What'd you think first?
Spoiler-free judgment zone, or what I think?
Oh, well, both.
I overall I liked it, but it was almost too weird for me. And a lot of times I was thinking, oh, it's just Nick Cage being like, max weirdness again.
All Nick Cagey on us.
But the movie's, it's kind of a hyper reality, has an unreality. The whole thing does, like it's on a.
It's a post-apocalyptic fairy tale.
Yeah, it's a fairy tale. Yeah. Well, there's a rough story among the chaos and weirdness of this one. There are zombies, so it's a horror movie, but it's more of a surreal adventure tale that happens to be, it seems to be inspired by manga.
But it's not.
It's not.
It feels
but
like it
has
should
that vibe
be.
to it, yeah. And there's lots of Asian touches to it. And there's an extra dose of weirdness, yeah. Nick Cage fits right into this oddity of a movie, and all the cast does a really great job, in fact.
Seems like all he does anymore, he picks the weirdest movies with the weirdest roles.
Mm-hmm. And he's one of the Devil's Rejects is in it even.
Uh-huh, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name?
Oh, I'm blanking out on it, too.
Oh, Bob something.
Yeah, the guy with the beard.
Yeah.
The long hair and beard, that guy.
Yeah, wow. I cannot think of his name
We're
right
bad
now.
that neither one of us can remember.
Well, we're the horror experts.
Yes,
we are.
Yes, we know our field.
Nick Cage as Hero, that's his name, Hero, so he's not the bad guy. He robs a bank in modern-day Japan. Bernice and 2 friends escape from the governor's house and get into a car. She then wakes up in an industrial, post-apocalyptic setting. Credits roll. Hero wakes up tied to a chair in what appears to be an Old West setting, populated entirely by Asian people. The governor arrives, and they drag Hero out of the sheriff's office.
Who is not Asian.
Bill Moseley.
Bill Moseley.
There we go. It just occurred to me.
He's the mayor.
He explains that his granddaughter Bernice has gone missing. He wants Hero to go and retrieve her. They stop for a brief musical number. And at this point, things are going to be weird. The road outside the immediate area is populated by bandits, or maybe they're ghosts. The governor explains that the suit he just gave Hero is loaded with explosive devices. He's got them on his neck. He's got them on his wrists. He's got them on his
Naughty bits.
lower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got them everywhere. If Hero doesn't play along and rescue Bernice, he's going to explode, one piece at a time. If he does the job, he's free. Hero then dumps the fancy sports car given to him and takes a kid's bicycle instead.
See, it's those.
I'll show you.
It's those surreal touches that really make this movie.
Yeah. He soon crashes and wakes up in the same industrial weirdness that we saw Bernice in earlier. This is the Ghostland, a land of no escape. He soon finds Bernice and drags her away on a cart. Then his left testicle explodes. Ow?
Yeah, ow.
We flash back to the bank robbery. His partner went berserk and killed everyone in the bank. Young Bernice was there also, and she was shot in the leg. Then she went home to be adopted by the governor. And things went badly for her after that. We return to the present and zombies attack. No, wait, they all just vanish into thin air. Yeah, I should have stopped with the exploding testicle thing, shouldn't I? This movie is just a disjointed sequence of cool-looking but almost unconnected sequences of things happening. Lots and lots of things happen.
Stuff does happen.
But most of it really doesn't affect the story at all, and the further it goes, the stranger it gets.
And I thought it was cool. There's out of Mad Max Thunderdome, Beyond Thunderdome, when the kids are recreating the story of the plane crash.
Right.
There's a scene that's very reminiscent of that, where they're recreating the apocalypse that happened and the war that happened, and using handheld cutouts and stuff. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, it's become legend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a very colorful mishmash of genres and ideas, sometimes funny, sometimes just weird. The costumes and visuals are complicated and fascinating, and I would have guessed that it must have been based on a manga, because it just feels like that, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But it certainly looks like one. It also looks like it was very expensive to film.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet this had a huge budget.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it makes no sense whatsoever, but it is really cool to see.
Yes, it is.
What's next?
Well, then we had The Hunt from 2020, which was directed by Craig Zobel, written by Nick Case and Damon Lindelof.
Yep.
Stars Betty Gilpin, Hilary Swank, Ike Barinholtz. An hour and a half.
And there's a trailer in the show notes if you've never heard of it. And we had not heard of it for a very long. This came out in 2020.
Mm-hmm. This was a victim of COVID.
I think
the timing,
it was.
It finished when COVID was hitting, and the marketing and release got all buggered up. And here it is, available on streaming, though.
Where was this? This was Shudder?
I think it was when we saw it, yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, so spoiler-free, people are being hunted for sport. That's not really a spoiler. That's kind of the whole point of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a phony conspiracy theory that people were being hunted for sport. So they hunt people for sport to show them that people aren't being hunted for sport. What?
Wait, what?
It's complicated. It's a political satire of very extreme liberals versus very extreme conservatives. Who comes out ahead? Nobody, really. Yeah. It's an equal opportunity offender.
It is, yeah.
So what happens?
Well, 6 people text message each other about hunting down deplorables in the woods. And the next thing we know, a group of snobs are on an airplane. Suddenly, a stewardess freaks out, screaming, "One of them is awake!" And one guy stumbles in all disoriented and everything. Well, the doctor tells him to lay down and then stabs him in the neck. And he's fighting and making a big mess of the place. And he's winning until a woman comes in, kills the man with a high heel in the eye.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, that's Hilary Swank from behind, you see. You don't see her for quite a ways into the movie.
Yeah. Are we sure that was her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was.
All right. Yeah, like you said, we don't see her till nearly the end.
Yeah. Well, later, multiple people awaken outdoors with gags padlocked on their heads. Several of these gagged people converge on a box in the middle of a field, where they are, and inside the box is a tiny pig and a big selection of weapons.
And at this point, I'm thinking it's either Battle Royale or the Belko experiment.
Uh-huh.
They're all going to have to fight
Reminiscent
to the death.
of that, yeah.
Or Hunger Games.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of, a flavor of a little nibble of each one. Yeah. Well, they find the key to the gags, and they get out of those. Abruptly, somebody out of the woods starts shooting at them in a sniper style. And there are death traps in the field and landmines. And suddenly, the number of these people that you think are going to be major characters are dropping quickly.
They got a couple of big-name people that just don't last 2 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, 3 of them, they make it to the perimeter of this hunting ground. They go over a fence, and they make it to a gas station. But the people running the gas station aren't helpful. They're kind of in on it, too. Well, the radio sounds. A couple more are on the way. The next woman to arrive, however, turns the tables on the shopkeeper. This is Crystal. She is badass. Yeah. She teams up with another guy named Barry, who tells that he read the liberal elites kidnap and hunt down people. He read it on social media.
It's got to be true.
Well, it is true now, yeah. Well, they hop aboard a moving freight train to escape. The train is stopped by soldiers. There's a bunch of refugees on the train, including one guy who is actually one of the hunters. He dies explosively. But Gary and Crystal end up in a refugee camp. They meet up with Don, another player. And a government guy from the embassy shows up. And, yeah, takes them
Somehow or another, they've all wound up in some other country.
Yeah, Bosnia or
something like that.
Somewhere.
Sure.
They can't quite figure out where, yeah. Well, the government guy says, "Oh, you're safe," and he drives them away, and Crystal throws him out of the car and runs him over. She figures out that he's not. He's in on it. Like everything, you don't know who to trust. Everybody's a phony here. Well, they find Gary in the trunk, dead along with some money and a map. And Crystal tells a really messed up version of the tortoise and the hare story here that was really funny. Because, tortoise, hare, who's going to win? Well, yes, it's a tie. Kind of like, nobody wins. Well,
which might be a theme here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Who's the tortoise and who's the hare is the question. Yeah. Well, meanwhile, back where everything started, the liberal elites have their base. Crystal and Don return and start killing the liberals. Soon, Crystal is all that's left. All right. One of them tells Crystal where to find Athena, the leader. And flashback to 1 year ago, where Athena was CEO of a company that got hacked. And she was one of the ones that were texting. And her superiors read the text discussion from the opening sequence. She says the whole thing about hunting people for sport was just a joke. They were playing. It's not real. Who would possibly think that it was real? Well, extreme conservatives, that's who. They got wind of it, and then it became a conspiracy theory. So they tell her she has to resign, like everybody else on the text message.
So they were just messing around with their texts, joking about hunting people in the woods.
But
eventually they got hacked, and somebody saw this joke, thought it was real, and it became a conspiracy theory.
So then
the real group, CEOs had to resign because of it.
The people that lost their high-paying power jobs decided revenge on these people and made it real.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Kind of twisted, yeah. Well, she makes it her real to punish these dumb and gullible, the people that are dumb and gullible enough to think it was real. Kind of ironic. So, yeah. Well, she and her team track down bloggers, podcasters, and other people who are spreading the stories about Manorgate, and we see the selection process for their victims.
It's always a gate. You know that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, soon Athena and Crystal are face-to-face in the manor. Athena says the tweets and text messages were really a joke after the fallout. They started doing it for real. Crystal tells her that she's not the person who did the tweeting. They picked up the wrong Crystal. But she knows the other Crystal from her town that Athena meant to take. Things would have come out very differently. Yeah. Well, the two fight in the kitchen for a long, long time, and they're pretty evenly matched. And they stab each other and throw each other around and discuss Animal Farm until Athena finally dies. And Crystal eats her grilled cheese sandwich.
Wow.
In triumph.
Well, it's clearly political satire with the liberals versus the conservatives, and they both get slammed pretty hard here. The deaths are generally cool and interesting, often coming out of nowhere. And those other movies I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you like those, this is the same kind of thing, but with a little more comedy mixed in.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of blood spatter and gore mixed in with many good jokes. It's all fun and games until Hilary Swank shows up and starts explaining things, and the fun all drops off.
It did, kinda.
Yeah, it was a fun movie until they started explaining stuff.
I enjoyed it more up until that point, yeah.
She doesn't do comedy well. The final fight goes on for way too long. It's an entertaining and original movie with an ending that's a little on the weak side. Though in the end, the tortoise does win the race. Or was it the hare that won?
That's a good question.
Or did anybody win?
Yeah. This is a lesson to be moderate. Don't be extreme on either side. I mean, at least this extreme. My gosh.
Be the pig. The pig's the only one that went out unharmed.
These people are crazy. Yeah.
Ooh, speaking of crazy, it takes us to 1973's The Wicker Man. Directed by Robin Hardy, written by Anthony Schaefer and David Pinner, stars Edward Woodward, Christopher Lee, and Diane Salento, hour 28 minutes, and there's a trailer as usual in the show notes. Spoiler free? What's spoiler free? What happens?
Spoiler free? Well, after seeing it previously on commercial television in a chopped up and censored form, it was refreshing to see it whole and uncut. That was the first time for both of us.
Yeah,
we both kept saying,
we had both seen it in the
wow,
80s.
We don't remember it being like, wow, look at what they're doing. We didn't see that before.
We both saw it on 80s on network TV, and it had been heavily censored for both of us.
And I can see
and
why.
We both thought it was kind of a boring, dumb movie.
There's nudity and some violence and various themes and that weren't
If you
suitable
get on
for
the
commercial
message
television
boards,
back then.
everybody's like, "Oh, it's so good, it's so great," and we're like, "What?
Yeah,
it's
we
dumb.
didn't remember it that way, but this
Once you
time
see
we
the
did.
uncut version, it makes a whole lot more sense.
Yes, yeah. We highly recommend it that way. It's so much more entertaining. It's creepy, unsettling, and suspenseful. And Christopher Lee and Edward Woodward are both great, and so is the supporting cast. Big thumbs up on this.
The whole island full of weird characters.
Yep, they're colorful.
How very British.
They're colorful.
Sergeant Howie flies over the tiny remote Scottish island village of Summerisle. His seaplane lands, but the harbor master won't let him disembark. Still, he's a policeman, so he insists. He insists a lot in this.
He does.
Very bossy.
Yeah. He's got the respect my authority going.
Yeah, he does. Everyone watches. They clearly don't get many visitors here. Howie was sent an anonymous letter saying a girl has gone missing with a photo, but all the men say they've never seen that girl before. The letter says it's Mae Morrison's 12-year-old daughter, Rowan, but the men at the dock say no, it isn't. He talks to Mae Morrison, and she does have a daughter, but the girl in the photo isn't her. She shows him her 9-year-old daughter, Myrtle. Myrtle says Rowan is a hare that lives out in the fields. He goes to the inn, and everyone stops talking when he walks in the room. He meets Willow, the innkeeper's daughter. The whole place breaks out in a bawdy song, but Howie doesn't really approve. He's all police business, no fun at all.
Yeah, plus ultra, very staunch Christian.
Very conservative,
puritanical. Yeah.
And you get a lot of that through the film. These people are doing things that he does not approve of.
Yeah, they're just having fun and doing drugs and nudity and public sex and
he's
all
Mr.
sorts
Prude.
of things that horrify him.
Yeah. Later that evening, he goes for a walk and finds a bunch of couples having sex outdoors. That one was really not quite explained. What was that all about?
Just having a good time.
Is that kind of town.
Yeah.
Howie goes back into his room and prays. He's a very religious man. Willow sings a song and taps on the wall in the room next to Howie. He hears it all and is both turned on and repulsed by his feelings. He tells her this the next morning, and she says that with that attitude, he probably doesn't want to be there for May Day. And that's a very important scene to let you know what he's about and what she's about, and I guarantee you that did not show up on network TV.
No, because she's writhing around half naked on the walls, and yeah.
And he knows exactly what she's doing, and he's really fighting the urge to do what he wants to do there, and it doesn't work. He goes to school the next morning and watches Miss Rose, the teacher, explain that the maypole is a phallic symbol representing the penis. Howie, ultra prudish, says he's going to file a report on this. He's very bossy and demanding. He finds Rowan Morrison's name in the register. Oh, she did go there. They've all been lying. Miss Rose says Rowan never existed, but won't say that she's dead. When human life is over, the soul returns to trees, water, fire, and animals. He is astounded that they teach the students this stuff and not Christianity.
Yeah, very much pagan, earth religion. And then, for the adults, free loving and, freedom and,
Yeah.
not uptight at all. Not like him.
How very early 70s.
Yeah.
Okay, so he finds Rowan's grave. The very strange grave digger says she's been dead for 6 or 7 months. And he goes back to Mae Morrison, who feeds a girl a frog for a sore throat.
Well,
magic.
She has the girl spit it back out. Just hold it in your mouth for a few minutes, dear.
I got a frog in my throat. Blurp.
Now, doesn't that feel better?
He starts to think the whole town is insane. Everyone keeps telling Howie he needs to talk to Lord Summerisle, but Howie keeps avoiding him. Next, Howie goes to an oddly stocked pharmacy. He goes to Summerisle's estate and finally watches a bunch of naked girls dancing around in a ritual.
Yeah, the pharmacy has a mix of
Eye of Newt and stuff like that. You know where this is
real,
going.
Real medicine plus, lots of natural cures.
Summerisle says they don't murder people here as they're deeply religious, a statement to which Howie takes offense. He says they should all be learning about Jesus instead. Summerisle says that the old gods aren't dead here. The island has been like this for centuries. His grandfather came up with the idea of growing special fruits on the island. The pagan religion fit in and took over. The island thrived with exports, and he revels in it.
Yeah, he came there, these people were already living like that, and he just amplified the whole thing.
Yeah, and he should be pretty supportive because he's kind of living like a king there.
Yeah.
They exhume Rowan's body, and Rowan is, in fact, a rabbit.
Yeah, and that gravedigger just cackled.
He confronts Summerisle, but he makes light of the whole mystery. Howie says he's going home tomorrow to report the whole thing, especially all the pagan debauchery on this heathen island. Oh, my.
Yeah.
And you got to wonder at this point how much the government back in Scotland, is it Scotland, Ireland?
Mm-hmm.
What part?
Yeah, this was Scotland.
Somewhere over there, how much they would really care about all that.
I think back then they would have cared more.
In the 70s? Okay.
Yeah, it was pretty secular and pretty Christian.
Well, he researches May Day, which sounds a lot like a masked festival and parade. Howie suspects that Rowan is going to be a sacrifice to the crops because the crops failed last year. In the morning, Howie goes back to his plane, but the plane won't start. He goes back to town and witnesses preparation for May Day. He hears Summerisle discuss the symbolic sacrifices that will occur, and he becomes even more sure that Rowan is in real danger. Howie starts searching every single house for Rowan. He finds lots and lots of weird villagers, but not the girl. He goes to his inn room for a nap, and Willow and her father try to drug him by burning a dead woman's hand.
Ew.
Howie overhears this and gets out. He knocks Willow's father over the head and steals his costume and mask. He joins the parade in disguise, which is a fascinating bunch of characters.
Including Christopher Lee in drag.
He certainly was. I don't even remember that from the network version.
I don't either, yeah.
Really? They could have cut that out?
Yeah, and wasn't it was some symbolizing us...
Mother Earth or something.
Well, it wasn't it a he-she? Some kind of, or some kind of earth goddess god.
Okay.
That was, supposed to be androgynous, I think.
All right.
Was what he was supposed
Don't
to be
remember.
doing. Yeah.
At the end of the parade, Howie finally spots Rowan and runs up to rescue her. The two run into a cave to escape. They climb out of a hole on the other side of the caves, and Lord Summerisle and the others are waiting for them.
He changed back into a suit, though.
He did very quickly.
Yeah.
Did I do it right? She asks. Summerisle said she did it beautifully. She wasn't the sacrifice. She was the bait. Only the best human sacrifice will satisfy the harvest god, and they want him, because he's a Christian virgin who came there of his own free will. Those are probably pretty hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
They've organized and manipulated everything to bring him personally to the island. Summerisle explains that they will offer him a martyr's death. It is time to keep your appointment with the Wicker Man. He threatens and begs to let him go. They lead him to a huge Wicker Man statue atop the cliffs. He really freaks out when he sees what they intend to do with him, but they force him inside with pigs, chickens, and other livestock for sacrifice. They then set fire to the Wicker Man, and they all sing happily ever after.
Well, they live happily ever after. And we don't get to find out did it work. Next year, were the crops better?
Wicker Man 2.
Yeah. They need to follow up with us.
Yeah. Okay, so like you said, we both saw this early in the 80s on network TV, chopped and butchered. I don't remember so much music and singing, or especially not the nudity.
No.
I also don't remember much of the parade or the rituals either. And now that I've seen the real thing, I kind of want to watch the butchered version again and see just how much we missed.
A lot, yeah.
Times have changed, but I don't know how much. This took place in 1973, so it's not a historical thing. And the way Howie goes on and on about it being a Christian country, I wonder how much the force of law really was guided by religion that recently. It was only less than 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Lee always said this was one of his best and favorite roles out of more than 300 films. Edward Woodward is clearly the hero of the story, but he's not even remotely likable. He's just an ass throughout.
Pretty much.
The people on the island, however, look like they're having a lot of fun. This was, of course, intentional to turn the tables, and overall, it's really good.
Yes, definitely a thumbs up. And I was reading that Christopher Lee actually very little to no pay because he wanted to do this so badly, and it was more of a deal of cut of the profits for rather than a paycheck kind of thing.
I suspect there wasn't a lot of money for this one. It's mostly filmed on location out in the countryside, and I don't think there's really any special effects.
In a real village and real island. And,
yeah, very cheap to make.
Mm-hmm. But it worked out for him. It became a classic. And,
Christopher Lee became a big star.
And he became a big star, so he did okay.
He may have been doing okay before this.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of people who were doing okay before this, Boris Karloff is looking old in 1963.
And Jack Nicholson is looking really young.
Yeah, funny how that works.
And so is Sandra Knight.
Yeah. The Terror from 1963 is up next, directed by Roger Corman and Francis Ford Coppola. Pre-Godfather days, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Leo Gordon and Jack Hill, stars Boris Karloff, Jack Nicholson, Sandra Knight, hour 21 minutes, and there is a remake of this, isn't there?
Ooh, not that I know of.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Okay.
I want to say Nick Cage was in it.
We'll say there is.
Maybe just a huge coincidence there that he's... I could be wrong, but I know there's a remake.
Okay.
Okay, so this one's got ghosts, witchery, murder, and a bit of mystery. There's powerhouse direction and actors. Great sets and location. It should be really good, right? It's really talky, low on action, slow on horror, and for long stretches it seemed like it could have been a stage play. Watchable, but very not great. And this is one I see on message boards also that people seem to really, really love this film. I think it's really kind of boring.
Yeah. Not their best work.
No. Okay, well, Baron von Leppe wanders around his castle on the cliff. He enters a secret chamber, and he follows a trail of blood, and then he finds an ancient-looking skeleton. Credits roll. Lieutenant André Duvalier rides his horse along the beach. He's lost his regiment and needs directions. So this French soldier is being played by a very American Jack Nicholson who has no even pretense of doing an accent. He spots a silent... I'm not sure, Baron von Leppe, what country he's supposed to be from, but Boris Karloff doesn't do much of an accent here either, other than his own.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Well, Duvalier spots a silent woman and follows her. She is Helene. He watches her walk into the ocean and disappear. He looks but can't find her body. He awakens in the care of an old woman in the forest, and her bird's name is Helena, and she has a nearly mute assistant named Gustav. She says he's mute, right?
Yes.
He does talk later.
He has a
He's
real
very raspy.
He has
but
a
he
real
does
whispery voice. Maybe she thinks he is.
Oh, he's faking it on
Yeah.
her. Okay,
I think he was faking it with her.
Well, that night he finds Helena, the girl, again, and they kiss. He follows her through the woods until Gustav stops him from walking into quicksand. It's a trap. Gustav explains that the girl is possessed and can't help herself. She's being held in the castle. The old woman warns him not to go to the castle as the girl is not real. Duvalier insists that he goes looking for the castle. He soon finds the castle, which is pretty hard to miss up on that mountain.
It's pretty obvious where the castle is. It's that big rocky building on the hill.
That looks like all the other Roger Corman movies. Yeah, there's always a big house on a hill. Baron von Leppe answers the door and tells Duvalier to go away. Duvalier uses his military influence to force his way in, and von Leppe denies there's any woman in the castle, but everyone knows what he saw. Von Leppe shows him a painting of his wife, who's been dead for 10 years. Yep, that's her.
Oh.
That night, Duvalier hears some creepy weirdness outside his door. The door is locked, so he can't check it out. When he finally gets the door open, no one's there. He spots Helena outside and follows her into a crypt where she finds the Baroness's tomb. Duvalier confronts Stefan the servant, and the servant begs Duvalier to just leave his old master alone. Instead, he goes straight to the Baron, who is evasive. Eventually, the Baron admits his wife and her death. He murdered her and her lover when he caught her cheating on him. He hasn't left the castle in 20 years, and the ghost has been appearing for about 2 years. Gustav, this
So it's
is about the point
it's a
where...
slow motion revenge.
Yeah, this is about the point I started getting suspicious. What happened 2 years ago? Gustav runs into Helena/Ilsa. There's another girl named Ilsa who just looks just like these people.
Huh.
He wants to help her, but she explains that the old woman commands her now. Stefan goes outside to see the old woman and sees her hypnotizing the girl. The old woman wants vengeance on the Baron. Stefan comes in and confronts the old witch. He wants her to move out by tomorrow. Duvalier hears Helena's voice calling for him to help her. Later, he hears the Baron talking to her in the same room, but when he barges in, she's not there. Helena, the bird, pecks out Gustav's eyes as Duvalier watches him fall off a cliff. Helena, the girl, comes to Duvalier and tells him the crypt must be destroyed. She says she's dead, but he tries to convince her that she isn't. You're not dead, really?
Really?
Yeah, I am. Duvalier goes downstairs and follows the Baron into his crypt chambers under the castle. He hears Helena talking to the Baron. You must do it. It's the only way we can be together, she says. Duvalier rushes in, but she's gone again. Duvalier and Stefan go into the chapel behind the sealed crypt. They go back to the castle and look into the Baroness's bedroom. Helena appears again, telling the Baron to kill himself to be with her forever. Duvalier catches the old witch in the cemetery. Turns out the whole thing is a plot to trick the Baron into killing himself. This is all revenge for killing her son along with the Baroness. Stefan runs inside to stop the Baron, but gets locked out instead. Stefan reveals that it was actually Eric who killed the Baron 20 years ago, and then took the Baron's place. So the Baron caught his wife and a lover together, and he killed the wife, and the lover killed the Baron and took his place.
And aged quite a bit.
It's been 20 years.
Oh, okay.
The witch has tricked her own son into killing himself. Lightning strikes her, and she burns into flame. Oh, that escalated quickly. The Baron plans to flood the cellars and crypt with seawater. Stefan and Duvalier try to break in and stop him. The Baron opens the floodgate and dies battling Helena.
Because, like so many good castles, there's a self-destruct.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Duvalier breaks in just in time to save Helena, and he tells her, "You're free now," and she turns into a rotten corpse. Whoops, she was dead after all. The water pressure is too much, and the whole castle collapses on top of the Baron and Stefan. Stefan, the loyal servant who was only trying to help, and he gets the castle dropped on his head.
Yeah, he was kind of a good guy, and it doesn't work out for him.
He seemed like he was in on a lot of stuff, but he wasn't a bad guy.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson spoke in a monotone throughout the film. I don't know what he was doing, but it's hard to call it acting. I wonder how many films he did before he learned to act.
Before he became Jack Nicholson.
Yeah. He was not very good in The Raven, but that was a pretty small, mostly comedic role. He was the star of this movie, the main guy.
I don't get it.
Yeah, he was not good. I guess he got a lucky break at some point and improved a lot because he sucked here. There's mystery and suspense here, but it's all stretched out for far too long. Many scenes feel like filler, and the acting feels like a high school stage play. It is just so talky, and there's no action.
Not nearly enough, no.
It's really an overly convoluted 20-year plan for revenge that really doesn't pay to overthink. I did not like it.
I don't give it a thumbs up.
I didn't like it when I saw it in the 70s, and I still have not changed my mind for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's boring.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we saw a short film.
Which was not boring.
Yeah.
This was a brand new one from 2022 called Knock Knock.
Who's there?
Yeah.
Not that kind of knock knock?
Well, not the joke kind, no. Directed by Alex Magana.
Magana.
Thank you. And written by him also. Written by Alex also. Stars Becca Bacalou and Willow Gray. Runtime 4.5 minutes, and it's on YouTube, and we've got a link.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the synopsis. While staying out of town on business on New Year's Eve, Owen hears a loud knock-knock coming from the hotel room next to hers. The desk clerk says there's no one else on her floor, but he agrees to send up a maid to check the room. It goes badly.
It does.
Yeah. And this one, I think, was especially impressive because it looks like it was, maybe a a student film or just somebody's project. There's really no sets other than an actual hotel room and hallway and 2 actors. And, that's all it took.
It could have been 2 people and a cell phone for all we can tell. But it's good.
Filmed on something, yeah. But it's good. It's suspenseful, creepy, very well made. So we give this one a thumbs up. Definitely worth the watch.
Absolutely. It says here it's definitely worth a 6-minute investment, but then it says the runtime is 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So
there's a discrepancy.
I guess you need a minute or so to recover afterwards.
To catch your breath.
All right. Well, that is our show for this week.
Yep.
Stop in during the week at horrorguys.com to read all the reviews. Listen to the other podcasts. We've got 155 shows now. You can go back and hear every last one of them. Up at the top of the page there at horrorguys.com, there's a link for audio shows, and click on that. You can go back to listen to episode 1 if you want, or any particular movie.
Collect them all.
They're all there. Yeah, you can click on the monthly guides and check out our 5 issues of the Horror Bulletin Monthly. Or, follow us on Twitter at Horror
Send us a
Movie
message
Guys.
and let us know what you think.
Send us a message, yeah. If there's something out there that we've never talked about and you want to hear us review it, let us know. We're always looking for fun new things that we may have missed.
And if you've got something you've made yourself or were part of.
Oh, yeah. We love doing indie films.
Oh, yeah. Send us a note. Let us know about it.
Yeah. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we're the Horror Guys. We'll see you when?
Next week.
See ya.
See ya.